Hello, friends. Welcome to the Bincast. Today we have Leanne. This is where small talk comes to die. So I'm excited to feature Leanne, a dear friend of mine. We live in the same city. We've had interactions together. We've met as friends, and she's been an encouragement on the side lines for me. And so thrilled to be able to showcase Leanne, my friend. Leanne, welcome to the Bincast.
Thank you. I'm excited for you. I'm so
Thank
excited
you.
for you, Binyam. This is
Thank you.
awesome.
I appreciate that. It's nice to have friends, Leanne, who share in your excitement. Not the kind that says, "Oh man, what about me?" but more so saying, "Hey, I'm so genuinely pleased that you're experiencing happiness."
Well,
So
and I love your lives. I try to pop on whenever I can. I'm just a big fan. So I'm
that is
just
weird.
yay, Binyam. So yeah, absolutely. 100% support.
Thank you. Leanne, for our audience, let me ask you to give a bit of your background, where you've come from, where you're at in life, where you're heading in life, and just a bit of the
Okay,
highlights along the way.
a bit. Okay. You know, when I first met you, we had this conversation and I was like, how much time do you have? So how
I
much time do
remember.
we have? An hour, right? Okay.
We have
We
an
could,
hour, yes.
I'll try to do the highlights.
Sounds good. Sounds good.
um I think the easiest way to talk about this is to actually start with, where I'm at now and then go backwards. Is that okay?
Okay.
Can I do
Love it.
that?
Let's
Because
do
I
it.
feel like that's
Absolutely.
more
Helpful.
okay.
Absolutely. By all
Yeah.
means. This is good.
So I am in recovery from two car accidents. So in January of this year, I had a
Mhm.
car accident that gave me a concussion,
Okay.
and 2 years ago in January. So it was practically the same, time period. And I had post-concussion syndrome from the first accident, which was made much worse by the second. So I was just starting to kind of feel better and then had that second accident. And what that did
Hmm.
was really shifted kind of
Hmm.
my trajectory. So I had been teaching with the CBE since 1994. Yeah.
Hmm.
So,
Sorry, what's CBE?
oh, Calgary Board of Education.
Thank you. Just for our audience.
Yeah, absolutely. And I am a drama and English teacher, and I was a drama and English teacher. So now I have real limitations, right, with post-concussion syndrome. If anybody has had that, they know what it's like, and often it takes years to get sort of minor recovery or even major recovery, or, some people never recover, right? So the limitations I'm struggling with right now are kind of like um, cognitive fatigue. So if I put in too much information, my
Hmm.
brain just kind of slowly turns off. It doesn't go completely off, obviously. I'm still functional, but I cannot take any more in, right?
Hmm.
It's kind of how you feel. You've probably been in that situation where you're just in overload, right? You're in overwhelm mode.
Hmm.
And that's
Yeah.
what it feels like.
Yeah.
Um, so that happens. I have daily headaches and dizziness and tinnitus in my ears, the ringing in my ears. It doesn't last very long, thank goodness, but man, is it distracting. And yeah, so I've also recovered from sort of soft tissue pain and damage as much as I'm probably going to. I still have neck issues, I still have back issues, that kind of stuff, but I'm learning to manage that pain and do things despite it, like yoga. Um, that's kind of where I'm at.
Hmm.
Recovery mode and shifting. So I'm shifting out of a teaching career because I know that with this condition, I cannot imagine being in a classroom, right?
Hmm.
Um, you have, 29 to 35 beautiful souls that you want to attend to, and your brain just sort of gets into overwhelm, and I can't imagine, right? Just
Hmm.
not a good scene.
Yeah.
And also I'm sensitive to light and sound.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's not conducive to that
Yeah.
So now I've reinvented sort of where I'm headed,
Mm,
and I'm taking the skill set that I have from teaching and the training that I get through that, 26 years of teaching that I've got behind me, in communication and in trauma management and in disclosure and ethics and things like that, and applying it to life coaching
mm,
with a focus on relationships and sexuality.
mm-hmm,
So I've also taught in school, you know, the CALM curriculum, which is our career and life management, and that includes sexuality components.
okay.
So, it's something that I'm not afraid to talk about. Some people are, looking for a place to share and ask questions, right? We're all curious.
Mm-hmm,
Yeah. So I found kind of a nice little niche there, and I've been doing some volunteer coaching since last October.
mm-hmm,
Primarily volunteer because I am still on disability. And so I want to work harden to get to the point where I can get off disability, right?
mm-hmm.
And support myself, hopefully. Or if I can't do that, find that out, right? That's kind of where I'm at right now, is I'm finding out what my limits are.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Now let me even go back a little further. So thank you. That's a really good recap.
Hmm.
Have you always lived here in Calgary?
Well, no. I was born
Okay.
in I was born in Medicine Hat, Alberta,
Okay.
and
Yeah.
then as a toddler moved to Edmonton. I
Okay.
didn't move. I packed up my little case and I moved now. Um, we all moved to Edmonton, and
Okay.
then before I started school, we moved to Calgary. So I've been in
Okay.
Calgary pretty much, all my life.
Sure. Are you one of many siblings, or are you an only child?
I have an older brother, and
Okay.
he is way smarter than I am. Coming
Awesome.
through a school system behind a genius is really hard on the old
Oh,
self-esteem. I'll tell you.
oh,
It's like, oh, you're Kyle's little sister. Yay.
oh.
They all get so excited. And then you're like, I'm just
Right?
gonna do my
Uh,
best.
not easy call. Let me tell you about my experience just in short. See,
Yeah.
I'm the oldest of six siblings.
Oh
Now, my
my.
personality is really, I connect with people really well. And so my
Mhm.
teachers at school, I made an impression on my teachers and on my peers at school. So
Mhm.
my poor siblings following in my line, they were
Right?
following in my shadow as well. And so everyone would have the same expectations. Now, I was super smart, but I was just really intuitive and all those sort of things. So it's almost like it set a mold that my siblings were following had to fit, that others sort of
Yeah.
like said, hey, why aren't you more like him? So I can feel your pain because
Yeah.
I'm very sad for that as well, to say how some people just can't be their own people.
Well, and as a teacher, right, I
Yes.
learned not to do that. There were often
Mm,
loads of siblings that would come through my program, and I just treated them as individuals, had zero expectations, didn't
mm.
even really talk about their siblings unless they wanted to, that kind of thing. So, yeah, gotta learn the lessons as you
Yeah,
experience them.
how long were you a teacher for?
24 years.
It's a small
Um,
team.
yeah, so I started late. I was old for the, education program. Most of the people there were quite young, and I had already taken a bachelor's of theater uh, in university. So my first intention was to become an actor. And then I realized, wow, that's so difficult. It's so challenging. And you have to kind of travel where the work takes you
Mm-hmm.
as an actor. You can't just sort of sit on your laurels and wait for it to come to you. It's like
Yeah.
there's a lot of marketing and seeking and getting agents and travel. And I recognized I wanted to, have a family, some stability. So I thought, okay, what else can I do with this wonderful drama degree that I have? And I'd always wanted to teach. So I started with becoming a drama teacher. And yeah, being sort of a mature student in the program was very interesting.
Okay, so you're saying there's difficulty in the acting career, and you're saying
Mhm.
you had to market yourself, put yourself out there. Was there anything necessarily about the gift of acting that you had that was difficult to implement, or you already just had that gift? It was just putting yourself out there to be noticed. What was
Mm,
it that was?
yeah, good question. Well, I think acting opened me up to my gifts.
Mm, okay.
I often credit the taking drama in high school
Hmm.
with becoming a teacher. I wouldn't have had the confidence to stand up in front of other people and
Yeah.
speak, you know,
Mm,
um, if I had not taken that drama program. It changed my life.
yeah.
It really did. And so, in terms of, the skill set and what it takes to become an actor, I can't really speak to that. I have a lot of friends who have become full-time actors, and man, I feel for them right now.
Mm,
Like, they're just being as creative as they can to get around all of the restrictions, and the
yeah.
theaters are closed essentially, and
Yeah.
so it's
Performance
very
development.
difficult,
Yeah.
especially for theater. For film,
Yeah.
they've found that they can have certain requirements on set to keep people
Okay.
safe,
Yeah.
but theaters are just there's no good way to rehearse
Mm,
safely, right? With
mm,
a bunch of people that are maybe not in a cohort, and so now they are, right? Your bubble gets
yeah.
very big very quickly. So they haven't
Yeah.
found a good way to really do that,
I see. I see.
fortunately. But in terms of what they have, I know that the people that I know personally who are making it as actors,
Yeah.
they have a real resilience, like a real deep-seated resilience, right?
Hmm.
So that, rejection is kind of part of the game. And
Hmm.
it's you cannot know why someone doesn't cast you.
Mm,
You're just kind of continually putting yourself out there, and the majority of the time you don't get it, right? You don't get the role.
yeah.
So they have a deep-seated resiliency that I know I didn't have when I was
Hmm.
ending my program. So
Yeah.
I started university late, and kind of ended my program around 1990.
Okay.
And I was like, "Mm, no, I guess it was 92." And I was like, I don't know if I want to continue as an actor at that point, right? I just, having a family is another goal that I had. And I
Yeah.
have a beautiful, amazing daughter who is 21 and inspires the heck out of me. And
Yeah.
she is pursuing acting full time.
You
Right?
so
Irony.
you thought the factory.
I tried to convince her that law was kind of like acting, but she didn't. She said that she could always go back to school and become a lawyer if she wanted to. And I was like, okay. So she's in university out in North Vancouver right now, just loving her program. So, yeah.
You mentioned something interesting. You said acting was really what helped you discover a lot about yourself,
Mm,
especially gifts. What were some of those gifts that have been meaningful in their acquisition to your person?
hmm. Well, first and foremost is kind of expressing yourself, having
Mm.
the courage to say what you mean and mean what you say. And
Ah,
when I
yeah,
was in high school, I was a wallflower. I sat at the back of the class. I was shy. I dressed in beige. you know, I didn't have a loud laugh, right?
yeah, yeah.
With my friends, I did, but I not in public. That wasn't my
Uh,
how I presented to the world.
you're observed in public.
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
And I think if anybody out there is like thinking, should I take an acting class or should I try this? I would say yes. Even if it's not going to be
Yeah.
a career for you, the
Right.
skills of being able to speak eloquently
Yeah.
and confidently and
Yeah.
clearly um,
Yeah.
are transferable anywhere, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Can like any job that you're going to be in where you're dealing with people. you're going to
Yeah.
want those skills, right? And then there's that level too of self-exploration that comes with acting that's so amazing. Like, I
Mhm.
have played some crazy roles that I personally like have zero life experience to bring to that role, but now I use my imagination and I have to embody that, right? For the audience. And they know if it's really, authentic or
Yep.
if you're just putting it on, you know. We all know
The
when we watch a movie or something and we're like,
yeah.
hmm.
So let me tell you something. Actually, two things here, Leanne. One, before we met, I'd heard a lot about you in the week before, because everyone was talking about you coming over to visit our group of friends that we were spending time with, and they were raving about the performance you've given in maybe your last play that you were part of. Was it
Oh, it wasn't the last one. The last one was The Graduate. We met before that,
that was
which would have been A Little Murder Never Hurt Anybody. That's what it was.
okay. Okay. And
Yes.
everyone is just like, she just nailed it and such. So yeah, that's what I that's what I nailed before I met you.
Oh,
And
maybe
secondly,
was it The
I think it was The
Graduate?
Graduate. It was The Graduate because I do remember they were saying you just nailed the part. I'm pretty sure
Oh,
it must.
yeah, it was
No,
it was a fun role. I got to play Mrs. Robinson, who was like,
yeah.
she's
Like
so
she
vampy, it's
was
not me at
so
all.
you were so compelling apparently, and like these are like yeah, grown-ups who are like, wow, we've never seen a better performance. And then secondly, you're mentioning how you have acquired those gifts that brought you out of yourself
Mm,
to acting and what you're learning, and you're commending what that looks like. And it just made me resonate with what I learned in a different context, not through acting, although
yeah.
I've never tried acting, so I'd love to have the opportunity, but more so,
Oh, yeah, you should.
I would be
Yes.
all for it. But my coming out that way, my exposure to who I really am internally, expressively, that I was coming out, was when I started working with kids in the nursery
Mm,
and knowing how to engage them in a very lively way. I would
mm,
say the most impacting thing for me personally that has made me who I am today in the way I'm expressive, in the way I'm intuitively curious about people and just reaching out is kids, like working with young kids has taught me not to care who's watching. So when I'm with kids, it's almost as if I lose myself with them so that they realize, hey, he's down at, our level, immersing himself in the moment. And I've just taken that experience with kids all the way through all the different generations of people I've had a chance to work with. And there's something really fantastic as people interact and resonate with it to see that
mm,
there's also still that essence of a small kid in their lives, in there, and that still
mm,
resonates and says, hey, something in here wants me to engage in this open, expressive way. So you just made me
right?
remember that as you're describing it. That's awesome.
I love that so much. And children are so honest.
Yep.
And, if you're not present,
Yeah.
they know immediately. They're just like tuning you out, right?
Yeah.
Um, yeah, that's great. I can totally see that. Binyam,
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
I'm just thinking,
Okay.
if you put that with the acting piece together, you could do some really cool, oh, sorry, I didn't hit my mic.
That's okay. That's okay.
Um, some really cool children's YouTubing programming together. YouTubing. I'm sounding like my mother. You got to put that children's program on the YouTube there.
I've
My mom
never done
doesn't
this
talk like
before.
that, but
I've never done this before, Leanne, on any of my platforms. But before I was an Uber driver, which is, sort of put me on the map, I was teaching English, ESL, to kids in China through the internet. I was on contract with a few companies in China.
cool.
And what made my role there extremely successful, the reason the kids were absolutely delighted in my class was because I introduced them to Molly.
Ah!
Hello, how are you? So Molly and I would have a combination where she and I would work. I would work. No, I would do the work. No, I would do the work. And together we made it a lot of fun for the kids. Molly, do you want to say hello? Hi, I'm
Hi,
Molly.
Molly. Nice to meet you. You're adorable.
I gotta go now. I'm
Oh,
shy.
oh.
Molly. Okay, bye.
You're a ventriloquist, aren't
I'm
you?
not. I practice this in some ways.
So
So
great.
you just put that together in a way. I was like, actually, I did have quite
You
some.
did.
So we had a lot of
Okay,
fun. Molly.
okay. Molly and
Yes.
Binyam have to do an interview, I think. Right?
That's
What do you
amazing.
think?
That's amazing. I might have to feature Molly for sure.
Yeah.
The funny thing about it is, Leanne, my kids, whom you've met, I think you've
Yes.
met my kids, right?
Yeah.
They love Molly to the extent that whenever I'm calling them through the week when they're with mom, they're asking, Dad, we love you, but can we talk to Molly?
Okay. This is so crazy. You're the only
Yeah.
other person in my life who has ever said that to me because my daughter has the same experience with a character that I do that she grew up with, and she loves
Seriously.
her. And even to this day,
Yes.
like we'll have full-on conversations with
Yeah.
me
Yeah.
being Cindy. That's my character. So
Okay.
that is hilarious.
That is amazing. Yep. So there's
Oh,
Molly.
we're kindred spirits, my
I
friend.
love it. Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
I
Do you want to meet
foresee that coming.
Cindy?
Oh, I would love to.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
So
Okay.
she's 4.
Okay.
I just need a sip of water because I have to do a little thing with my throat.
Okay. Okay.
Hi, hi, my name is Cindy. What's what's your name?
I love it. Cindy, I'm Vinium. You're so cute.
Binyam.
Yep.
Binyam?
A
Yeah,
bin of yams. Vinium. You got it,
Binyam.
Cindy. You got it.
You know what?
What's that, Cindy?
I have a puppy.
What's your puppy's name, Cindy?
My puppy's name is Rufus.
That's amazing.
And you
Is
know
Rufus
what?
a big dog?
He's very, very tall.
Yeah.
And when he's excited,
Yeah. Yeah.
his tail goes ba-dum, 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 ba-dum.
That's
So,
amazing.
but sometimes it
Yeah.
hits me on the nose, and
My.
I have to say no, Rufus, no.
That is so brilliant.
Okay, I have to go have a nap. Okay,
Okay, it's nice to meet you, Cindy. Thank you for coming and saying
nice,
hi.
nice to meet you. Bye.
Bye, Cindy. That was
So
brilliant.
as a drama teacher, I did that too, right?
That is,
In
it
high
was so
school.
believable. In high school. And the kids, how do they resonate with Cindy?
Well, some were a little put off, I'll be honest. They were like, okay, miss, can you stop that now? Um, but it was interesting because I would ask them to, engage and ask questions just like you did. And they would be all like flummoxed, like, oh, I don't know how to do this. And I was using her as an example of how to kind of embody a character, think like a character, what would
Yeah.
your character talk about or want or, need, right? So it was kind of a starting point for them. And yeah,
Yeah.
it's so funny.
As you're doing that, like I just saw your inner child coming through in such a compelling way, especially with the acting on the face, and it was just like a lock in. I was like, I can take Cindy seriously. Yes, Cindy, do
Yeah.
talk to me. That was amazing.
Yeah, it's fun. It's a lot of fun. But that's the great thing about theater, right? Is that it brings that inner child out. And here you
Yeah,
are,
yeah,
being a puppeteer and bringing to life this other character and
yeah,
breathing life into her. It's just so engaging. Like it's
yeah,
so beautiful. And I think if more people played in
yeah,
life, we'd have
yeah.
so much more joy,
I
right?
think you're so right.
Yeah.
So, Leanne, that makes me think a little bit further here because you've gone through some big events in your life that have brought significant limitations in what your abilities are.
Mhm.
How do you, in this pressing or trying, challenging season, how do you wrestle with keeping that inner child alive in its expression, given that you're experiencing some hard things as far as I wish I had more energy. I wish I could do what I did once upon a time.
Hmm. Yeah, it's challenging, I'll be honest. Um, I do play a lot though. I will drop into a character like a Scottish accent to talk
Yeah,
to my dogs.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I think it's more for me a continual revisiting that mindset, revisiting who I really am, because I really am a 4-year-old deep inside. I'm in a 53-year-old body, but I really want to see life kind of
Yeah,
innocently,
yeah,
right? And I
yeah,
think that's one of the things that people love about you is that
yeah.
I see your inner child too, very much, like very present. It's right there on the surface all the time and so innocently questioning, innocently wanting to know and allowing because it's innocent and because you have no agenda, which is hard to find in this world, right? People respond to you because they know that you're not trying to get anything, that you're
Mm,
just wanting to get to know them. That's
mm.
that's the bottom line. There's nothing more to that. There's nothing scary about that. And I'm sorry I'm making you cry again.
That's perfect. Thank you. I'm trying to hold off, but that's
Yeah,
right.
no, but see, even that vulnerability, that presence that you have to bring your emotions and share them with us is so, so rare and beautiful and divine. I feel really close to you. And I haven't seen
Like
you
that.
probably in,
Months.
yeah, almost probably a
February,
year.
March. Yeah,
It's
yeah.
probably this time last year. Anyway, so I, but because you're so present and because you're so allowing and you're so giving that, it's instantaneous that even through a screen like this, like I'm getting goosebumps just being
Aw,
in this conversation with you because I'm moved and touched by your ability to do that. I really am. It's
thank you.
inspiring, man. It's
Thank
inspiring. I
you. Thank
I
you.
just want you to know it matters, you know,
Thank you.
and
Thank
that's why
you.
I'm such a big fan.
I appreciate it. Thank you. The beautiful thing is, like, together we are able to effuse this disposition. Like my desire, the thing that I'm grateful for where I'm currently at is I get a lot of requests from those who are following Leanne, because I think there's been a meaningful connection made. But they'll have a brief moment of scarcity mindset where they'll say, please don't forget us, and I can understand where that comes from, but it would
Mm,
really be a sad thing to miss this tangible expression of genuine connection that says, because we're fellow human beings, fumbling our way forward, experiencing life together in a way that supports and resonates with encouragement and love. I'm thankful
mhm.
for that reason. So, Leanne, what are some of the big things you had to say goodbye to in your current season in life that you really value from what you're able to do before? Things that you're like, oh man, I have to see that go and it makes me sad, but I'm gonna have to deal with reality.
Well, are you okay? You're with
Okay.
me? Just one more dab at the eyes here. No, I love that. I love that about you. I really
Thank
do.
you. Thank you.
I now intentionally seek out people in my life who are that vulnerable with me, just so you know. That's why I appreciate it so, so much. Anyway, back to your question. Whew. It's honestly the connections with the kids.
Mm,
I worked at Forest Lawn High School for 15 years, and I never went to school feeling like my presence wasn't needed or wanted. Um, I felt very, very connected to my students, many of whom, by the way, I'm still friends with now that they've graduated and they're
yeah,
adults and, some of them are really old. So it feels weird when I run
decades.
into them now. I'm like, oh, this adult. Yes.
Yeah.
But I it's not the same with coaching because it's one-on-one generally, and I'll do some group stuff, and it's, they're remote. I have, clients all over the world now, like New Zealand and England and the US, and but the energy of being in the presence of those students every day was so fulfilling, and I miss their faces. I miss helping them
Mhm.
through that
Mhm.
really hard time, which is, young adulthood. It's just so confusing and so overwhelming for a lot of them.
Mhm.
I don't miss the paperwork. That's one of the things that people don't realize about teaching is that a lot of what used to be done by different departments or different people has now been downloaded to the teacher. And so my career really shifted in the last, I would say, 10 years,
Mhm.
and became a lot about meetings and paperwork, and that's time consuming, and it takes you away from, what you want to be doing, which is building a quality program and really engaging with the kids, right?
Yeah.
Um, so it's hard, but that's the
Mhm.
big thing is just the students and seeing them every day.
Yeah.
And I can't imagine what they're going through right now, how challenging that must be.
Mm.
But good teachers, mask or no mask, they'll reach their
Mm.
kids. They really will. I know they will. So
Thanks for sharing that. That's a tough one. That's a tough one.
that is a tough one. It is. And it's oof, that I really struggled. I'll be
Yeah.
honest. Like
I
after my
believe
first accident, I went back into work. I didn't take time off, and I didn't do the concussion protocol,
you. Yeah.
which I should have done, but I didn't know, right? And so um, that probably caused my post-concussion syndrome, right?
Mm.
But I wanted to be part of the production at school, so I volunteered to do costuming, and I went in regularly just to see them, and to see
Mm.
rehearsals and to help. Um, and it was really challenging. I would go in for an hour, half an hour even, and have to go home and nap, you know.
Mm. Mhm.
Just so hard to go from, I used to be able to teach all day, have
Yeah.
rehearsals after school until 5:30, run home, have a quick dinner, and maybe go out or go to a rehearsal for my own show in community theater, right?
Mm.
That's what life used to look like.
Yeah.
So it was weird. It was very hard to adjust. And there was a lot of depression. There was a lot of fear and just really that grief. It was grief,
Mm.
is what it was that first year. So,
That's intense.
yeah.
Permit me a few more deeper questions, and then we'll get to some lighter ones.
Sure. Yes.
Okay. Um, after having gone through two consecutive accidents that really brought your life to a whole new place,
Mhm.
did you ever struggle with the injustice of it all? I mean, there's many injustices that are going on in the world, but just that sense that did you ever feel like you've been robbed because of these
Mhm.
circumstances? And if so, how do you process it? If not, what did you do to, sort of mentally process your way through the challenges that go through? I wish life wasn't this unfair feelings.
Mhm. Yeah. Oh, absolutely 100%. There was a lot of anger. The police were in the intersection for the first accident. And so I believe there was, I'm not 100% certain on this, so I probably shouldn't speak to it, but I think that that driver was texting.
Mm,
They ran a red light, full
okay.
speed.
Yeah.
The police officer said, I think they were going about 60K. They
Uh,
T-boned the front of my car just as I started out on a green light. So if I had been going a little bit faster,
yeah.
I might not have survived.
Uh,
And I got a double concussion because I was hit once on the driver's side and then spun and hit again.
okay.
Um, yeah, I was mad. I was very angry, and there was a lot of why me. one of the concussion symptoms that was really difficult that first year was, and actually has come back with the second concussion, something
Mm-hmm.
called emotional lability, which means that you're unable to kind of control your
Okay.
emotional life.
Okay.
So lots of anger, lots of frustration, lots of fear, lots of, crying. I wouldn't have a reason to cry and I would just be crying suddenly, right? Um, and it was incredibly challenging to go from somebody who was, pretty solidly together and feeling really
Yep.
kind of in her skin and
Yeah.
enjoying her
Yeah.
life and
Yeah. Yeah.
having a new relationship. I was,
Yeah.
only with Greg at that point for a year, maybe a year and a half. And I changed, you know,
Mm.
and that changed our relationship. That changed everything. It changed the fact that we couldn't listen to music or go on road trips,
Mm. Mm.
even our love life was affected,
Mhm.
I couldn't participate in that for a really long time. And it was because I was sore and upset and angry and caught up in my head and
Mm.
overwhelmed easily and most of the time sleeping, right? Trying to get better. And
Mhm.
finding that the more therapy that I
Mhm.
added, the more
Mhm.
exhausted I was. So, going to a
Mhm.
chiropractor and then physio and then massage therapy and then an osteopath and then a psychologist, I was
Mhm.
really overwhelmed. So
Mhm.
it was, what was the question?
It's okay. The question was, the
Sorry.
injustice of the circumstances. How did you process your way
Right.
through
Out
the
of that.
pain of all that? Like, this
Mhm.
seems so unfair. It was almost you were robbed of all what you were able to do before. How did you
Mhm.
work through that?
It's a work in progress.
Okay.
It's still happening, right? Because January of this year, I was starting to think about going back to work this year. I was starting to
Mhm.
think about, okay, so I no longer have the cognitive deficits that I had at the beginning where I couldn't find the words that I wanted. I do have it a little bit, but it's not as
Mhm.
bad. The words
Mhm.
were really difficult to find the first
Mhm.
6 months, 8 months. I don't have as much physical pain, so I can probably manage more time in the school and just with my body, my musculature, right?
Mhm.
I don't have as much of the fatigue. I was starting to really cut back on the number, or I guess the length of my naps that I was taking.
Mhm.
All of
Mhm.
that was really happening for me in January. And I was considering, okay, so this is the year, right? I'll
Mhm.
get back to the kids, I'll get back to the classroom. And I was coming out of a massage, Binyam, right? And probably a good thing. I was that
Mhm.
relaxed. And again, I got hit. Oh, no, that was the first accident. See, sometimes my memory
Oh, that's the
fails
first
me.
one. Okay.
Yeah,
That's
that was the
the
first one.
got it. Got it.
The second one, I got hit from behind. I think she was texting. I'm
Yeah.
guessing because she didn't see me and I was turning left in a residential area,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? And I was there a long time. Those left turns can take a while. So I was
Yeah.
there blocking her way for a very long time. And she
Yeah.
said that she didn't see me. She hit me hard. So there were no brakes applied.
Mm.
I'm pretty sure. My
Mm.
car bounced. She hit me a second time. And I was just destroyed. Like I was utterly destroyed. And I was like, okay, do the concussion protocol. Do all
Mm.
the things you know to do now, right? Like go rest for 3 days in the dark. Don't stimulate your brain. Stay off the screens. Put your phone away. It's so
Mhm.
tempting, right? When you're bored to just scroll. It's worst thing for concussion.
Mm.
Um, so I did the protocol and I thought, okay, just maybe I'll be okay. I
Mhm.
wasn't. I was back almost to like square one. And again with the emotional ability, again with the word searching, again with all of the pain, the headaches were so much worse, the dizziness was so much worse, the tinnitus, it just, ah. And I
Mm.
thought, you know, big bad swear word insert here.
Mhm.
Like,
Yeah, yeah,
what is happening?
yeah.
And I meditated on it and I meditated on it and I thought, what do I need to learn? What
Mhm,
do I need to take away from this?
mhm,
And I think the idea is that I need to serve people still, but I'm being called to serve in a different way. That was
mm.
how I framed it so that I could get past it. Because
Gotcha.
otherwise, the anger is huge. It's
I believe
just
you.
overwhelming. But I
Yeah.
really do feel like, I love helping. That's my purpose in life.
Mm,
I
mm.
always thought it was wrapped up in teaching.
Yeah.
And sometimes in acting, actually, because acting is very provocative for people. It can bring up things and spark conversations and,
Yeah.
do all those wonderful things for us when we're in
Mm,
the audience. And so
yeah.
that's kind of my motivation as an actor too. So I
Yeah.
knew coaching
Mm,
kind of fit with
mhm,
who I am. So I thought, okay, I'm open. What can I move into that will still fit my purpose, light up my life, allow me to move into even more authenticity,
mm,
which is
mm.
kind of my mantra as a coach, right? Is to help
Yeah.
people do that too. Because when we're not living our truth, we get lost. We get so lost so fast, right?
I was going to follow up with a question of what was good that came out of that. And I'm not sure if that may have been part of your answer as you're
I
saying, here's
think
what
that was.
I want to.
Yeah, I think it also, teachers and other people that are in service. So people who
Mhm,
are therapists, people who are nurses, people who are
mm,
doctors, their
mm,
life is caught up in the service aspect of things.
mm,
And,
mhm.
I'm not just describing that to them because I know that people who work hard anywhere can
Yeah.
have the same problem. And the problem is that we don't take care of ourselves,
Mm,
right? We don't have enough boundaries around what we can and cannot bring into our sphere
mhm.
that will uh, keep us from the overwhelm. And so a lot of us live in overwhelm. We're just like zombies, and I've lived that way as a
Mm,
teacher,
mhm.
right? You just
Yeah.
give and give and give. Like I would tell my family, I'll see you at the holidays. Don't expect to see me because I'm in a production. I've got, 35 kids in every class. I'm
Yeah.
buried in marking. Just I
Basically.
won't see you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I know that career actually impacted my parenting because I was a single parent for a while, with shared custody back and forth, and then my daughter's father passed away, and
Mm,
so I was in a relationship, and he was living with us at the time, but
mm,
I really felt like my parenting was compromised by my career.
mm, mm,
I know a lot of people feel that way, right? Like
mhm,
our
mhm,
shifts are long and we come
mhm,
home exhausted and depleted. And
mhm.
what do we have for our family when we're at the end of the day, right?
Right.
And our
Yeah.
relationships, all of
Yeah.
our relationships.
Yeah.
So it made me slow down. I
Mm,
had I had no choice. I
mhm,
had to stop what I was doing. I had to rely on others.
mhm,
I had to ask for help.
mm, mhm.
I had to be
It's not
vulnerable.
easy. Yeah.
No, no, it's not easy. Nobody wants to ask for help. We feel weak, right? But guess what?
Mm,
When we ask for help and people can step into that role, they feel good. They want to
mm,
help. They want to, be there for you, with you.
mm, mhm.
And the more we allow that, the greater our relationships become, right? My mom
There's
was a
that.
huge help to me.
Mm. Well, you're saying the one side of how it's a beautiful expression of a gift to others so that you're helping them feel good in serving you. But then
Hmm.
on the other side, it's almost like a reframing of the narrative where instead of weakness and asking for help, it's actually, I believe, like an expression of confidence to say, here, I'm willing to put myself out in this vulnerable way and saying, could you help where I lack? Yeah,
Oh,
to be able to get that frame,
yes.
right?
Yes. And, being sort of uh, needy, for lack of a
Yeah,
better word, that's how it felt,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
Put me in a position with my partner, Greg, right? My husband
Mm,
now, but he wasn't then, to say, I don't know how to do this.
mm,
I don't know how to manage this. I
mhm,
need you in
mm,
a way that I didn't need you before, and thank goodness
mm,
he was able to move through this with me, and stay on the journey with me. Because
mhm,
it's challenging when the person who is
mm.
confident and capable and,
Yeah,
out there and socializing and, loves road trips and loud music and
yeah,
dancing, turns into this person who needs a nap every
mhm,
afternoon.
yeah, yeah.
And it's really limited in terms of like maybe 2 hours a day where they're kind of able to be up and doing things actively, right?
And the other
It's
thing about all that too is that you seem competent. You seem well put together. People would not be able to read all of this narrative just by
mm,
looking at you because you just present yourself as confident, competent. You're dressed well. You're attractive. All these kind of things. Almost, it seems like there's an expectation already that you're up to
yes.
speed with the rest of us as well, right? So
Yes.
then, what
That goes to
else?
any, actually, sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That goes to all invisible illnesses, all chronic pain, all mental health, all, like we are
Yeah,
in a world where we cannot look at somebody and know their struggle.
yeah, yeah.
you know?
So
So
true.
we got to
And
remember
to your
that.
absolutely, absolutely. I would not have guessed all of this before I talked to you, right? When I first met you, I'm like, wow, what a well-accomplished person. I mean, you just finished, yeah. Um, tell me a little bit about the stigma that you may have experienced from your community, from others around you who are like, what's wrong with you? Why can't you like just get over it, for example?
hmm I've been really lucky.
Okay.
I'm part of a few support groups, one online, primarily out of the US. And
Okay.
I'm going to tell you that it's the medical community is amazing here in terms of trying their best. They don't always have the right answers, but they do try.
Mm-hmm.
And our access to that is amazing. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
getting to see a neurologist, right, without having to pay out of pocket is amazing because I've watched these people struggle and struggle and struggle. And
Mm-hmm.
I do have really understanding family and friends.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I know that there's been some times where I have been potentially perceived differently,
Mm-hmm.
um, by people I've worked with, maybe in theater, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where now I find focus is difficult. So if I'm focused on something, on
Mm-hmm.
doing a part, for example, The Graduate, right? Super
Mm-hmm.
challenging for me, this
Mm-hmm.
role. Are you familiar with this show at all?
I am
The movie?
the
Okay.
yes, yes.
So Mrs. Robinson, she's a seductress, right?
Yes.
And I
Yeah.
don't feel like that in life. I'm a goofball.
Yeah.
I'm a I'm silly, and
You have
to
principles that you implement very well.
right. So I had to kind of step into a very uncomfortable situation. I didn't expect to get the role, to be honest. I challenged myself to do the audition as kind of almost a continuing my work, right? Like trying to get back
Mhm.
to work, trying to get back to
Yeah.
theater, trying to get back
Yeah.
to school, all that stuff. And I had the second accident just before we opened the show.
Wow.
Huge setback. I am so grateful for
Uh,
that amazing director and cast that
yeah.
rallied around me and gave me a couple of days off to do the concussion protocol, be in a dark room, and stay away from the theater,
Mm-hmm.
right? We were just moving into the theater, which is when you do all of your technical runs and you
Yeah.
have your lights and your
Yeah.
sound, and
Yeah. Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
very long hours. They gave me
Yeah.
lots of breaks and they let me go home early. And I I couldn't have done that show without Greg's support, my husband, for
Yeah.
sure. He was amazing. He did everything else. Everything. He drove me there. Like I didn't
Mhm.
have to do anything except show up for a very short period of time and go home again,
Yeah.
which got me through the show. Um,
Just a little side here, sorry for our viewers. You're going to meet Greg in the after interview. So Leanne is first. I'm having Greg on after Leanne. So you'll get to meet this amazing man. So yeah,
he
carry on.
is amazing. Sorry. After,
Okay.
after you, I'm his biggest fan. So. Oh, wait, can you edit that out? Don't tell him I said
Great.
that. I'm just kidding. Um,
Good, sweet.
yes. What was the question again?
Question, yeah, you were telling me about how your cast was helping you because there's this
Yes.
stigma that sometimes comes along and you're like, this amazing community really carried you through this whole thing.
They did. And at the same time, I know that I was challenging to work with. I know that I hyper focused on certain aspects of the production, even before the second accident happened,
Mm-hmm.
uh, where, I did hair and makeup for that show as well, the design of it. So that was a lot of work. And I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it is and it isn't. It wouldn't have been previous to these accidents. But for me now, it was
Mm-hmm.
hours of
Mm-hmm.
work.
Yeah.
And so I cared a lot about getting it right. And I
Mm-hmm.
know that previous self would have been a lot more accepting of like, oh, whatever, we can do this, that, or the other thing. But with the head injury, and it's a traumatic brain injury, even though it's considered mild, it's significant enough that it impacts your life and your thinking, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I know that with that came a lot of vigilant focus on things. And wow, that must have been really hard for them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, wasn't quite as easygoing as I was before, when challenges came up. And so, right? So there
Mm-hmm.
might have been some perception around that where it's like, wow, Leanne's like really being intense about this particular thing, or why is she asking these questions, right?
Yeah.
Um, but my thinking has changed, and so that's my new normal, right? I have to look at that and work with that, and maybe even explain to people,
Mm-hmm.
right? That
Yeah.
it's harder now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Leanne, I want you to talk to our audience here who's listening, watching. In relation, because you've had to reappropriate boundaries and implement them so you can actually make it through to whatever you want to commit to and enjoy in life and still keep yourself healthy.
Hmm.
Talk to us a little bit about how you draw your boundaries and implement them
Hmm.
for yourself and with those around you that are enmeshed as well too.
Hmm. Well, actually, I just want to point out that something that you said about about doing your lives is part of that work, right? When you came
Mhm.
on and you said, "Listen, you guys, I love doing my lives, but I need to change what I'm doing," right?
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
need to do that. And I need to do that to serve you better and to serve
Mm-hmm.
myself, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because your needs come first, your family, your work, all of that has to happen.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
know how hard it is to balance that. And so,
Mm.
like, kudos.
Thank you.
That's you stepping into, I cannot do it all. I cannot be all things to all people.
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
And that's what it looks like essentially is letting people know I am having a good day. This is
Mm-hmm.
a good day. So this is a good day to I have a father in long-term care. That's a good day to go visit him. It's a
Mm-hmm.
little different now because we have to book appointments because of COVID, so it's a little harder to manage. Some days I have to go on and visit him even when if it's a bad day, if I'm having a lot of symptoms. Um, so I prioritize that
Mm-hmm.
and seeing my mother, who's
Mm-hmm.
on her own for the first time,
Mm-hmm.
and my relationship with Greg and my daughter, who I reach out to regularly. All of those things are my priorities. And then from there, I look at, okay, I had this crazy whiteboard schedule at one point listing all the things I needed to do. all of them, like
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
Make a
Yeah.
meal, walk the
Yeah.
dog, everything
Yeah.
was on
Yeah.
there, and it
Okay.
looked overwhelming, so I erased it.
Okay.
But I have to say,
Yeah.
kind communication is the
Mm,
way to go about setting boundaries.
mm,
You can say to somebody who's used to you being there,
mm,
um, I know that you're used to me being there for you,
mm,
in this way or that way. Or I understand that, what we are used to doing together regularly is
mm,
this. And I'm sorry, but I do have to change that, right?
mm, mhm,
Because compassion goes a long way. If you just
mm,
say to somebody,
mm.
no, I can't do that. It's harder to accept. It doesn't
Right.
feel that you understand the impact of that.
Mm,
No,
mhm,
right?
mhm,
Um, Having said that, no is a very valuable word, and we just need to know how to utilize it in a way that is not going to push people away,
mm, mhm.
right? Because we don't want that. We want connection. So we want to say, I know what you need from me, and I want to
Yeah.
provide that for you. I can do that this day, or I can
Yeah.
wait until I have a better day, right? Like
Yeah.
maybe today is a very high symptom day. I'm pretty much going to have to just focus on my priorities, get those done, which includes
Mhm,
therapy. I'm in exercise therapy for physio and chiro and vision therapy. My eyes were affected.
mhm,
So it's a chunk of time that,
mhm,
takes up a lot of space. And so I have to be present for those things.
mhm,
If I'm unable to be present for someone who needs me,
mm,
I try to do it in a compassionate way. Am I
mm.
always successful? No. Boundary setting is
But that's hard.
hard,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
You don't want to disappoint.
Mhm,
And sometimes I do push through, you
mhm,
know. Say for example, my daughter needs me to help her through something that's
mhm.
come up for her. It doesn't matter what I'm doing. Right? I push
Yeah.
through that, even if I'm
Sure.
having a bad symptom day. Um,
Yeah.
and then I'll nap afterwards, right?
Yeah.
So the management of the how to say no, I think, is really key to everyone's boundary setting. I
Awesome.
know I respond a lot better to it when someone says, I get where you're coming from. I know what you need, right? And I'm sorry that it's not going to
Yeah.
work out this week, right?
Sure. Sure.
That's lovely.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Here, we're just in the last couple of minutes here of
Oh,
our,
are we
our
okay?
episode, but Leanne, I'm gonna have
Mm,
one more question for you. I want to throw some really nice, fun questions for you as well. Like, what's your favorite color? Those kind of things. But here, let me finish off on this one here because I think this would really serve our listeners. I'd like to ask you if you have any questions for me, and then we'll finish off with where people can find you to find out more about you, to get in touch with you, to yeah.
okay.
So let's
All
start
right.
off with my last question. What would you say is your biggest gift to others?
Oh, Binyam.
Sorry, not a next one.
No, it's beautiful. It's a great question. It's beautiful. Okay. Well, that's, it's one of those. I get really hung up on not engaging with the ego. And so I often equate self recognition with ego. So this is hard
Mm,
for me.
gotcha. Gotcha.
I'm going to just be honest and vulnerable
Yeah.
with you because you're so honest and vulnerable with me. So I think I can I can form safe spaces for people really quickly. I think that's something that I've learned how to do.
Mhm.
And I'm going to tell you, my biggest teacher is Greg. So he brought that to me into my life. And I used to be kind of a harsh-minded person.
Mm.
If someone wanted to talk to me about something serious, I'd be like, all right, let's talk.
Yeah.
And that came from fear. I know where that came from now.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I think I'm able to create a safe space for
Mm,
everyone. Nobody feels judged. So they're
mhm.
able to express. Yeah,
Well,
I think. I
gotcha.
hope. Oh,
Yeah. Well, I'm thinking about your time as a teacher, the kind of culture you created as you're giving yourselves to your students, the kind of feelings you still have in the aftermath, saying, I miss that. And so I can see that. I can totally see that, man. Leanne, your turn. Do you have any
Okay.
questions for me?
Oh my gosh. I would have prepared for this if I had known that
That's
you were going to get
okay.
me to
I
ask questions.
love
No. Um, so I know a little bit because I've been, a fan and I've been watching what you've shared with others, but I I want to know where you were before. You've alluded to it before that you used to be a different kind of person. And what was the catalyst that changed that for you?
Wow. Okay, that's a great question. So I've often thought about this, Leanne. My who I was before and who I am right now.
Hmm.
If people were to interact with me, they wouldn't see a difference, a significant difference, because as expressive as I am, as intuitive and as curious as I am, I was before. The only
Okay.
difference was the internal component being that I was afraid to really let people see who I really was, what I really believed, what I really felt and thought. I never felt
Hmm.
that safety that you were talking about to express, here's what I really see things. And so for the longest time, man, I lived as a people pleaser, living on everyone else's schedules of expectations from me, and I fulfilled those with flying colors. I was on everyone else's schedule. So that was what drove my life for the longest time. The
Yeah.
point of change that came was when, you know,
Uh-oh, we froze. Oh,
I'll
you're
try.
back. Okay. The
I'll
point
call it.
of change.
The point of change came when I had the opportunity at one point to um, I remembered something that I valued once upon a time while I was pursuing dishonesty in my life. I was pursuing dishonesty in a very and so that point came for me when I all of a sudden remembered that I really valued transparency once upon a time and I didn't have
Mhm.
access. And I'd lost that frame of reference and I wanted that so badly and I couldn't get that unless I took the appropriate steps of this would be a fantastic little clip to edit, but we don't edit.
Yeah.
So this is all to say for me, that point came when I knew I couldn't go back to where I once was, and the only way forward was to press that self-implode button and to tell the world, here's how I really am in my messiness,
Mm.
take me for what I am. And that's how I really came to that point of transition from before to now. So even though I may still seem the same as I was before, the big changes internally, I feel like I'm on the same wavelength now. I'm being honest and transparent from inside out instead of from outside with nothing inside to really resonate with.
Beautiful. Oh, I
Thank
love
you.
that so much.
And a big gift that I would say, if I were to ask myself the same question, is that
Hmm.
gift of transparency now in a tactful
Hmm.
way. I still I value what you're saying when you said be kind when you're expressing needs or your boundaries or whatever. Be
Hmm.
kind in the way you're expressing your thoughts about others or your thoughts about their thoughts or
Yeah.
all that is really important. Even if I disagree, I want to do it in a cordial way where I want to leave them feeling that sense of you can still be you, even though I may not see this things the same way, you know. And
Hmm.
so that's really valuable for me. That's really core, non-negotiable.
Binyam, I just love you.
Thank
I
you.
just want to tell you that. My heart is full right now.
It is mutual,
I
and I'm
feel
glad.
very, very honored that you shared that with me and that you share yourself. Like this is a big thing that you're doing. I applaud you because I still struggle with a lot of, you know, just fear. Just that's all it is. It's just insecurities
Mhm.
popping up about can I do this? Can I, do a live? I've never done one, and you're just killing it. You're just killing it all the time. And I watch this, and I'm so inspired by your way of being. It's just
The biggest
incredible.
thing I want to encourage those that are watching and observing, I discourage them from doing what I'm doing in the sense of saying, "World, you know, It takes a lot to get to this place where you
Yes.
are impervious to the effects of the world. So now, as I've opened myself up to a lot of hurt from the world because now they can use what I'm sharing against me. And so that's why it takes a whole process to get to a point where you are feeling that sense of stability internally, that it doesn't affect you that way. But what I do encourage my followers, especially, is to find those safe places in their own
Mm,
spheres of influence and the safe people that they can say, as they're watching and saying, can I practice what this looks like to share the real me in a safe place that they can start building up that confidence to express who they truly are and not live within that sense of fearful expectation that the world is sort of crouching in on, right?
hmm
And then also to
Well,
affirm
and
them, saying it's not about comparison either, but to say you are still delightfully
yes,
great as you are.
comparison is the killer of confidence. It really
Absolutely.
is.
Yeah.
We cannot
Yeah.
be the other person. We cannot, you know, it's
Yeah.
just not even possible. So
Mm-hmm.
why compare?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, that is
Yeah.
so true. And I've heard you say that. I've heard you tell people and counsel people to look for a safe space. And,
Mm-hmm.
for some people, that might be a distress center, it might be a therapist, it might be a doctor. Um, so there's there's a lot of people that struggle with where do I, where is that?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so I love that you say that because it's really important to have
Mm-hmm.
to nurture those places too. Like if you have someone in your life who is a safe space for you to keep that relationship, you
Mm-hmm.
know, healthy by investing in it, because
Yeah.
it's so valuable.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
Friends,
I think we're
and
done.
here before we go, let me just
Yeah.
give my listening audience and my watching audience where we can find Leanne. I encourage my viewers, especially when she's on my live, to say, "Ask Leanne, she's right here." She's a coach on so many areas, having real life experience, especially by way of knowing how to relate on so many setbacks in life, and so you can find her at Leanne Million. Is that right?
That is
On all
correct.
platforms from TikTok. She's recently on TikTok, so wonderful that you're on there putting together her videos, and you're doing fantastic. To Instagram, where else besides TikTok, Instagram? You've got
Facebook.
your website
Uh, yeah, and my website, leannemillion.com.
and Facebook. Awesome.
Yes.
Leanne, so much for taking the time. It's been really rich, and I'm sure our listeners are going to be really well served by this conversation. Thank you for sharing yourself.
Benyam, I knew from the moment I met you that you were an incredible person, and you've always asked the most poignant questions to get to the heart of the matter. And this is where small talk goes to die because that's just how you live. That is just who you are.
I'm so grateful for my sister for suggesting that.
Oh, it's beautiful. It's perfect for you. Yeah, it
Thank
it really
you.
is, how you operate in the world. There is absolute 100% transparency and authenticity here. So thank you for that.
My pleasure. I can't wait to hang out again soon. But once again, thank you.
Okay, bye.
I'll talk to your husband soon. Bye.
Okay.